Welcome back to the Sean Show. I'm really excited about this video because so many of you have been asking for it. Well, it's not just one video, but it's a series of videos. I'm talking about my karate curriculum. I'm putting out most of my karate curriculum onto a series of videos right here on YouTube for free. These videos are not kid-oriented, however. I've put out karate videos for kids in the past, but this isn't it. The techniques and concepts are specifically for my adult students. Now, before we get into the actual content of the video, you're gonna wanna subscribe because each week I'll be adding a new video that builds onto the previous video. These videos will have 6 kata that I teach at my school, as well as much of the empty hand, self-defense, and fighting curriculum. So today we're gonna learn 2 blocks and 2 strikes. And we're also gonna look at stances. Lastly, we're gonna look at what a guard is versus what I call active hands. First is the high block. The high block starts out in front of our chest and moves up and out. It stays close to deflect an attack while the other hand comes back to our chamber. We'll talk about the chamber later on in the video. To make this reflexive, we're gonna need to practice it. So let's do 10 alternating each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The next technique is the low block. We start the low block from the opposite side of our body and we block down. The block covers the low line attacks. Again, we pull the other hand to our chamber. Why? Well, I'll explain that later, don't worry. We keep the hands closed traditionally because it helps protect the fingers. But if we do an open hand block, there's nothing wrong with that. We just gotta protect our fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're gonna start with what we call the center punch, all right? That's right here to center mass. 2 things to keep in mind when punching, the fist and what is making contact with the target, right here, these 2 knuckles. And then also we're wanting to keep our elbows down and in. The puncher is stronger when the elbows are connected to the body. So we're gonna do 10 alternating punches. We're gonna put our first punch out, thinking about our 2 knuckles here, other hand to our chamber, and then we're gonna keep that elbow connected to our body, and we're gonna punch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The next technique is the face punch. It's the same thing as the center punch, but now obviously we're punching to the face. So we're gonna punch here right to the chin. We wanna punch to the chin because if the opponent drops their chin, we're still punching them in the nose. If we punch at the nose and they drop their chin, then we punch them in the forehead and then we screw up our fist. So we wanna punch at the chin. So we're gonna punch here. So let's do 10, here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, now that we've learned some techniques, I want to discuss some concepts. The first concept is stances. Many stand-up martial arts have stances, but every stance comes down to weight distribution. So let's talk about the infamous horse stance. So the horse stance is simply a deep neutral stance, okay? Balanced equally between both feet. Now let's get into a more realistic horse stance, and we call that a fighting stance. So we're gonna get into our fighting stance where we're here, all right? We're facing a target with 1 foot forward. The deeper we are, the more grounded we are. This helps when we're wrestling or we're tied up with somebody. You'll see a lot of wrestlers in this position. The closer the feet are, the more mobile we're gonna be. Okay? It's easier to move around, you're lighter on your feet. Typically speaking, at distance, you want to be more mobile. The closer you are, the more grounded that you want to be, all right? Let's do a front stance now, okay? A front stance is simply putting more weight onto the front foot. Some systems will tell you to be like 70-30, 75-25, but ultimately during the fight, it depends on a lot of different things. A back stance is simply, we're just shifting to the back foot, okay? Foot position changes, but again, it varies on depending upon different things, okay? Lastly is the cat stance, and that's where most of our weight is on our back foot. This is really defensive and used mostly for front leg kicking. Now I'm going to talk about our front stance here at Lone Star Karate. It's fairly deep. The more you train with a deep stance, the stronger your legs will be, and then that will help you be more explosive and more mobile in your fighting. Back stances are more for defending and evading strikes, okay? So you're going to want to keep your body centered over your feet though, and this will help with balance. So we're going to move from the front leg to the back leg, and we're just going to get used to doing this. Understand right in the middle is more of a horse stance, front stance, back stance, and then if we really shift back, this is more of a cat stance. So now that we learned the concept of stances, let's train some of the techniques within those stances. So we're going to shift back, throw that high block, and then shift forward to throw that punch. And then back, high block, punch. High block, punch. High block, punch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to switch sides because you want to make sure that you do both sides. We're going to go ahead and shift back into that back stance. High block, shift forward, punch. High block, punch. High block, punch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so you're going to want to be able to quicken the pace a little bit, shift faster, pay attention to how your feet are. And this is an important nuance. When you do it, you want to make sure that your toes are more or less going forward. If you, in the back stance, it's okay to have the back foot perpendicular, okay, to the side. But when we shift forward, we want to turn that back foot and try to face it forward as much as we can. What we're going to do is the low block, but with a face punch. I'm going to turn sideways to this one so you can see a little bit better. So we're going to do that low block in a back stance, turn face punch, and then come back to that low block. Face punch, low block. Face punch, low block. Face punch, low block. Face punch, low block. Okay? I'll switch to the other side so you can see it this way. Low block in a back stance, face punch. Low block, face punch. Low block, face punch. Low block, face punch. Low block, face punch. The last thing for this lesson is the concept of a guard versus active hands. In karate, many techniques are performed with the other hand on the hip. But why? The best answer is that we're pulling the hand of something else. Let's think about it this way. If I'm standing away from somebody on the outside, I'm safe with my hands down. But the closer I get to my opponent, the more I need to pick up my hands. So when I get within kicking range, my hands want to come up to somewhere between my hips and my chin, okay? If I want to get closer, then I'm going to start to move my hands even higher, okay? If I'm really in close, then I'm going to put my hands on my head, because if I get punched here, I'm just hitting myself in the face, and that's no good, okay? So that's what a guard looks like. But then what are active hands? Active hands is when I reach for the opponent to stop them before they get started. So my hands are out, okay? I'm looking to control the other person. This is what I believe is what the chamber hand is trying to mimic. The other hand The one that isn't striking or blocking needs to be doing something. Either you're protecting or you're pressing to feel the opponent's energy, or grabbing and pulling them to get off balance, okay? So train these previous drills that we've had with this kind of concept in mind. Train to keep the hand pulling back or keep it up in a guard, okay? And that's something that I think is essential for karate students to keep in their mind, okay? So when we're looking at it, when you're doing these high blocks here, maybe your hand is up protecting while you're blocking. And then when you punch here with this hand up, okay? That's an important concept to keep in mind. So don't just train pulling this hand to the chamber and then punching with the chamber, all right? Sometimes you need to train here, but also here, okay? And then when we punch, look, we're keeping that hand up. Maybe you do your high block here, and then you punch in and you pull to your chamber because you're grabbing that hand and you're pulling it to you, okay? And that's an important concept to not only think about, but to train with your techniques. Well, that's it for the first lesson. I hope you learned something. The next lesson will be learning a kata and some of the applications for the moves that are in the kata. And I hope to see you there.